Good evening and welcome to Sporlitiks, where sports and politics mix and mingle. Joining me tonight is Oguna, the Nigerian moderate Republican, Stephen, the independent thinker, Keith, the constitutional conservative, my cousin Todd, and my cousin Jenny. Tonight we've got a show jam-packed for you. More classified documents were found at President Biden's Delaware home as his chief of staff announces his resignation. Documents were also found at former Vice President Pence's home. The Eagles are in the NFC playoff game. Do you see what I have on? Do you see what I have on? This is all that matters. You see that? My Eagles. Yes, my green. Yes. Hey, hey. We will be playing the San Francisco 49ers this Saturday. It's going to be an incredible game. I hope everyone will watch it. Well, most of us were doing MLK Junior Day service projects this past MLK Junior Day. The dream has not fully been achieved. Florida's governor, Ron DeSantis, rejected an advanced placement African American studies course from being taught in Florida schools. Ross Chastain and Jimmy Johnson's NASCAR driver emerge as favorites to replace Kevin Harvick. Stephen is going to talk about that. And then your Florida governor, Ron DeSantis, again, is pushing for sweeping protections against COVID-19 mandates in Florida. Oh, poor Coco Gauff in tears as she faces up to her Australian Open loss. My cousin Jenny will be talking about that. West Virginia Senator Joe Manchin says holding the debt ceiling hostage doesn't work. And who exactly is Congressman George Santos from New York? We'll talk about that and more if we can fit it in. First up, as always, Stephen with NASCAR. Stephen, what's going on with NASCAR? If you can give us a brief overview.
Is coming up in the next couple weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, no, 3 weeks. And it's the Super Bowl of NASCAR. It's the biggest race of the year. And it's going to be absolutely thrilling. Everybody who's never watched NASCAR, this is a really good race to watch. Anybody can win it. It doesn't matter what team they're on, how much experience they have, because it's such a bizarre race. It's so fast. And it's just so much fun. This is great. Talladega's great, but this is the Super Bowl. This is the beginning of the year, and whoever wins this race has the most prestige as the person who wins at the end of the year. And I think that's going to be Ross Chastain this year, next year as well. He was my pick last year, Ross Chastain, if people remember. And he didn't win because he was so aggressive at times. He made a couple people mad, and they retaliated at really bad times for him and took him out of the being the contender when he was, because they wrecked him because he was so aggressive. He wrecked them. But I think he needs to chill out a little bit and take this year and just work on his skills, because next year there's not going to be Kevin Harvick there anymore. And Kevin Harvick took over the Dale Earnhardt Sr. team in 2020 when Dale Sr. crashed his car at Daytona race of the year just coming up, and he crashed his car that day. And Harvick took over for him and race. And
okay, Stephen, you're going in and out.
Number 29. I'd be interested to know. Excuse me? Am I going in and out?
Yes, you are. And you're freezing.
Well, I might have to go to plan B then. You go to tennis and then come back to me. I'll go to plan B.
Okay. Well, I hope plan B was what we had already discussed. Is this plan A?
Or you?
All right. Okay, I see you here. Let's get rid of you on the other one. There you go.
All right. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay.
Very good.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Well, Kevin Harvick is going to retire, and he is the guy who took over, like I was saying, Dale Earnhardt Sr. so many years ago, about 2000, when he crashed in the last lap of a great race. It just ripped every race fan's heart out. And Kevin Harvick replaced my guy, who was Dale Sr. So now we need Ross Chastain to take over for Kevin Harvick, because he is that kind of driver. He's a Dale Earnhardt kind of guy. He's a Kevin Harvick kind of guy. He will put everything behind him and throw caution to the wind, and he will drive like a maniac. That's what they need at this team, and he's perfect for this team. And the Jimmy Johnson guy, who is it, Eric Jones, he's good. He's a really good guy, and he's up and coming, but he's not Ross Chastain. And Ross Chastain is with a two-team, little small team right now, Trackhouse Racing, but he can't really accelerate in the best equipment. He's going to better equipment. He's going to a top 3 or 4 team with Stewart Haas. When he does that, it's going to be incredible. It's gonna be the perfect marriage with him and the team, and he will perhaps start a dynasty the way Jimmy Johnson did, Dale Earnhardt Sr., Gordon, a few guys had a bunch of championships. He will be a champion. Ross Chastain will be a champion because he has guts like I've never seen. But if he can temper his enthusiasm a little bit and not go too crazy, then he will probably be a champion this year, if not next year. And I am picking him again to win the whole championship. And I'm looking forward to Daytona 500. Definitely.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you. Jenny, did you want to talk about, and I hear a lot of static in the background.
Oh, I'm just in my office.
Okay. Do you want to talk about the Australian Open and what's going on there?
Yeah. So just real quick, so there's a lot of things to go through, so I'll try to go fairly quickly. So I'll start with the guys first, because I don't believe in all that ladies first, kind of fake chivalry stuff. So with
fake chivalry.
Yeah, I guess the biggest thing is Rafael Nadal. He was the champ last year. He got upset in the second round by a young American kid named Mackie McDonald. Mackenzie is his first full name, but Mackie is kind of what his nickname is. He's a 27-year-old kid, and he's pretty good, but people were, obviously shocked. Nadal, might have had a hip injury, so he's getting that checked out. He didn't have an injury timeout, but he came back, and he's my favorite player, win, lose, or draw. He leaves everything out on the court every match, doesn't matter, major or whatever. So the other things, Francis Tiafoe, who's an American player, really popular, young guy. He's been, last year I think was his real breakout year. So he unfortunately also lost in the third round to a Russian guy, Karim Khachanov, who's a really powerful player. He's the 18th seed. They're kind of seeded close together, 16 and 18. Tiafoe 16th seed. But Tiafoe will be back. Another big story is Andy Murray, another one of my favorite players, 35 years old guy. I heard somebody commentating like this guy doesn't know that he's 35 because he beat another ranked player, Matteo Berrettini, in the first round, and that was kind of an upset. Andy's not ranked, he's not seeded in this tournament, but he beat Matteo Berrettini, who's like the 13th seed, and he also beat Thanasi Kokkinakis, who's a younger guy. He was probably expected to win, and he just grind that match out. Andy Murray is another guy who just leaves it all on the court, but he did lose in the third round to a guy, Roberto Bautista Agut, we call him RBA, I guess for short, who's a really good player. But Andy will hopefully, we'll see him again. Just hopefully he'll finish out the rest of this year. 35 years old, and it's a lot of these young players are coming up. So another kind of big upset is Alexander Zverev, or Sasha Zverev. He is a German player. He got beaten by a really young guy named Michael Moe, an American player. Actually, Michael Moe, his dad is a Nigerian guy who used to play. Um, but that was a huge upset. But Zverev is coming back from a really bad ankle sprain. So that was, kind of maybe expected, not expected, but it was kind of a big win for this kid, Michael Moe. And now, just what's happening now are new players coming up. This guy Ben Shelton, also his father was a previous college player. He just turned pro last year, and he just lost the other day to another American guy, young guy Tommy Paul. So these new American guys or young American guys are coming up. Ben Shelton, I think you're going to hear a lot from him. Tommy Paul, and Tommy Paul is now in the final four players here. So of course, not even to mention Novak Djokovic has been kind of just breezing through this whole tournament, so he's the favorite. So some people I've heard, well, these guys are just playing for second place, but you never know. Tommy Paul is in there, Karen Khachanov. Stefano Tsitsipas, he's been, just coming through the tournament with not really a big problem. So that's the men's side. So Novak Djokovic is, of course, the favorite. So as far as the women, Iga Swiatek, she's the number one player. She was the favorite. She got sort of upset by another player from a player from Kazakhstan, Elena Rybakina, who's actually the current Wimbledon champ. So Swiatek has been just, winning every tournament in 2022. Rybakina is probably one of the hardest hitters on the women's side, has probably the hardest serve right now. And then Coco Gauff, like you mentioned, she was kind of upset by Helena Ostapenko. Ostapenko is a type of player who she can win any match. At any
Jenny,
time.
did you say he was kind of upset, or she was kind of upset when you
Coco
talking about
Gauff,
Coco?
Yeah, Coco Gauff kind of upset, and I'm using upset in the sports term. Upset. I mean, yeah, obviously, yeah, she was crying. She was, obviously that too. But
And then she's how old? You're going a little too fast. She's 18 now.
Coco Gauff is 18.
She's 18. She's 5'9". She's pretty tall. And who did she lose to?
She lost to Helena Ostapenko, who I can't remember what country she's from, but Helena Ostapenko she's a former French Open champ. She won the French Open in 2016, and she's kind of been on different kind of streaks. I mean, but she's a sort of perennial top player. She's seeded 17th here. Coco Gauff was seeded 7th. So that's where the upset comes in. But Ostapenko is the kind of player who can just beat anybody at any time. I think she just out hit Coco. She's tall, but she's still, she's going to build more muscle, I think, as she gets older. She's going to get heavier. She's going to get heavier in her bones and in her muscles. So, that's what happened. She just got out hit. One of my other favorite players, Ons Jabeur, lost in the second round. She's from Tunisia. She's a great player. She was a U.S. Open finalist last year and a Wimbledon finalist. Danielle Collins, another American player. She's been doing really well. I think she had kind of a breakout year last year. Madison Keys, another American player, up and down. I think she was doing fairly well, but she's looking for a consistency that she lost in the third round. So the folks who are left. Again, now I think who's the favorite, Elena Rybakina, who's got probably the hard. She, serves like Serena, one of the hardest serves, hard ground strokes. It's going to be really difficult to beat her. She's tall. She's 23 years old, but movement for a person she's 6 feet tall. So when you're, it's either you're tall or you're fast. So a lot of times you can't go. So she's left. Ariana Sabalenka from Belarus. She's again one of the hardest hitters. She's not quite. I don't think she's that tall. She's very tall, but she's not as tall as Rybakina. So maybe slightly better movement. Victoria Azarenka, just kind of a perennial all-star. She's 33 years old. I think she's the oldest one left. Her and Serena. She and Serena had some wars, but she always seems to. She's been getting injured, but she always seems to come back really strong. She can also beat anybody at any time. So there's one last year. Yeah.
So real quickly, Jen, before you keep talking, Laguna, and Steven used to keep talking so nobody could get a word in edgewise.
Right. Oh, well, if
Um,
anyone wants to comment on these players, go ahead.
Why was Coco Gauff crying?
Well, I mean, I think, there's a lot of, there's no crying in baseball. There's a lot of crying in tennis. There's just no shock in seeing these men and women just shed tears. It's just
Okay.
something
Right.
about these,
something about I guess the all the energy and everything it took to get to where she was, and then I guess to be, all the emotion came out. And then my second question to you is, how did Djokovic get into Australia? Was there a problem last year where Djokovic couldn't get in Australia because he hadn't had his COVID shot?
Yeah, to be honest, like, I don't know if they've changed the rules. I still don't think he's been vaccinated, but I think they might have now just let up on that strict, them and New Zealand had this super strict, like, you're not getting in if you haven't had the shot. So I think they must have let up on that. I really didn't look, research that. I just figured that they just let up on that. So, so that's him. And then I really think he's, again, like, the favorite. I definitely pick him to win. And then, but one last thing on the women's side, one more player who's, again, on the come up. New people are like popping up everywhere. Her name's Magda Linette. She's actually
we can't
not
hear
new.
you. Can you talk a little louder?
Okay, how about now? So
yes.
One last player, Magda Linette. She's from Poland. She's 30 years old. She's been on the tour since 2009. She's suddenly, she's a pretty steady player, but this is kind of a deep run for her in the tournament. She's beaten all seeded players. She beat Carolina Pliskova, who is considered a contender in this tournament. Caroline Garcia, another contender for the title. So, she's 30 years old. She's been playing since 2009. So she's a veteran. Sometimes these veterans, not pop out of nowhere, but, they get into a tournament and they get into the final. They've been playing for 10 years. So tennis is kind of interesting that way. It could be people who just turned pro last year, get to the final, or people who've been playing for 10, 15 years and then suddenly have success. So,
okay. So, and I know that my favorite, Carlos Alcaraz, did not even join the Australian Open because he had an injury that he's nursing.
Yeah.
And I must say, thanks to you, Jen, I found out about Carlos Alcaraz because Jenny treated me to tickets to the U.S. Open last year.
Yeah, man. That was I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Thank you. So that's where you got us tickets really upfront close. So I know they were very expensive. So you paid a lot of money because you're a doctor and you are not a quack doctor like Steven said you are.
All right, yeah, if you believe Fauci, you're a quack.
No, she is a board certified physician who makes a ton of money. That's why she could pay for me to get to the
people can make a ton of money and not be right with the facts.
All right, I think we're going.
Anyway, Steven.
All right, I think we're going.
Go ahead, Jenny.
Going in another direction here.
But make all the money in the world. Fauci makes more money than her, and he's wrong.
All righty then. So
go ahead, Jen.
Carlos Alcaraz, disappointing that he's not here. But we're at the beginning of the year. This is the first tournament. This is the first major. So it's exciting. All these new players coming up. I feel like I'm going through withdrawals because Serena's not there. Fed is not there officially. They're both gone forever. Oh God. Okay. Whew. All right. So
yeah, you and Todd are gonna lose your minds.
That's killing me. I'm telling you, I'm really going through withdrawals. But I'm watching, and Rafa's still there. Again, Rafa's my favorite player. Wins the draw. Andy Murray.
Rafa, who? Say the whole name.
Oh, I'm sorry, Rafael Nadal.
Okay, I thought he retired.
No, my goodness. No, he was playing in this tournament, got injured, got beat by the kid Mackie McDonald. So no, he said, I vow to return. I shall return. So and the French Open's coming up. That's the next tournament. So he won the last one. He's got 14 French Open championships, unprecedented. I don't think it'll ever be matched. I can't wait for the French Open to see what happens. So that's a lot of stuff happening in tennis. So that's it.
All right. So and congratulations to Naomi Osaka, who announced what, Jen?
Oh yeah, she's gonna have a little baby. So she's
So she's
pregnant.
not like, well, she's not playing, but your girl was playing while she was pregnant.
Right. Well, I think Naomi's a little more pregnant right now, so she
Oh,
can't.
is she?
Yeah, I think she couldn't play now. I guess Serena immediately when she found out she was pregnant, it just luckily coincided with just the right timing for that was the 2017 Australian Open. I think that was her last major. Thank goodness she wasn't too pregnant to play because she won. So she played against Venus. That was incredible. First of all, that wasn't that long ago. If you think about it, that was not that long ago that these two people, the two greatest sports siblings to ever play sports, in the finals of the Australian Open 2017, not that long ago. That those two, it's just history. To have witnessed this history is just amazing. I think Venus and Serena, Federer, Nadal, Djokovic. I don't think all of their feats will be repeated. I don't know. I guess never say never. At 100 years, 200 years, we won't be here, but I just don't see it happening. I don't know. Somebody's going to record this 200 years later and be like, haha, but you're wrong, but I don't think so. Anyway, that's it.
All right. Thank you so much.
Okay. See you guys.
All right. Bye. So, Nas, I've got Nas on, and Steven, I want to talk about the Eagles. Nas, is your team in the playoffs? I'm sorry, I don't remember.
Stacy, don't be mean.
Actually, they are.
Oh, what team is that?
Whoever your team is against.
So, do you want to talk about the playoffs and what you see? Let's talk about this defense, or let's talk about this. Anyone talk about these last games and how Buffalo lost to Cincinnati?
Well,
sure.
Yeah, okay. Well, a couple of years ago when we were on, I was telling you guys, like, I think it would be a good thing for the NFL to invest in more domes, like dome stadiums. The idea of being in the city of Buffalo and playing outside, it's like you ruin your whole point of having home field advantage. So they played this game against Cincinnati, and shout out to the Bengals because the Bengals are physical and the Bills are more of a finesse team, kind of a pretty boy who want to throw it for 400, 3 tuds type of game. Whereas Cincinnati's a little gritty, and they just kind of beat them up. I don't think Cincinnati's a better team, but it didn't matter. The conditions played to their favor, and Joe Burrow was really good. The defense was really good, and they were able to pull it off in a great upset. And sadly, because football does narratives, and we don't really talk about these things in a good way, now people are going to call Josh Allen terrible and say he can't win the big game. Meanwhile, this is like year 5 of his career. We got a lot more Josh Allen to see, so please don't throw dirt on Josh Allen yet. It ain't over.
Okay, Steven, what did you want to say about it?
Oh, the Bengals totally outclassed Buffalo. If they had played anywhere, it wouldn't have mattered. If they played indoors, it wouldn't have mattered. They outclassed them. The Buffalo Bills don't have an offensive line that can protect Josh Allen well enough, or Singletary, or anybody else to run the ball. Not against Cincinnati, not against San Francisco, not against Dallas, not against teams that have really good defenses that can take care of it. They don't have a great team right now. They should be better. And then another thing is, Josh Allen has been hurt a couple times this year, and they hurt his arm again in this game. His elbow. If you could watch the game, it looked like his arm just went to pieces again, like it did before a bunch of weeks ago. So he wasn't doing well. And plus, not having a running game, it didn't matter with the weather of that game. Cincinnati was perfect. Joe Burrow was super accurate, super cool. He would anything wanted to do, he did. Joe Mixon could run. They have a good offensive line going against a defense in Buffalo. That's not what it was before. What's his face got hurt? I can't remember his name now, but he was a great. What's his name, Stacey?
I'm sorry, DeMar Hamlin.
No. The other guy that they brought in, who is like the best defensive
pass rusher from Denver.
Oh,
What's
the
his
pass
name?
rusher from Denver.
Yeah, I can't remember his name for some reason. I don't know. But he is one of the best defensive players in the league. When they lost him, they lost their defense. If they
Von
didn't have
Miller. Nas said Von Miller.
That's exactly right. Thank you, Nas. They don't have any defense after that. I've been following Buffalo really, really close this year. Once he left, they had no more defense, and they were done. And Cincinnati's has too many weapons. They have a good running back. They have an excellent top 3 receiver, and they have other receivers that are number 1 receivers as well. So there was nothing Buffalo could do, and there's nothing I think Kansas City can do to stop them coming up this week, because their number 1 player, the best quarterback maybe in the league besides the other 3, one of the best ever to play the game, he is hurt. He's got a high ankle sprain. I don't even know if he's going to play. They're not going to say anything yet, but he might not play, because generally when people have a high ankle sprain, even if it's mild, they do not play the next week. It takes weeks for this to heal.
Yeah, but this is a playoff, and Nas,
I understand. Yep,
Stacey. Not
Stacey.
play in this top. It's only 4 teams left.
Don't worry.
Because he won't have the mobility. He won't have the mobility.
The longest needle in the history of the world shot into that ankle. He's going to play.
Oh, I know. They're going to shoot him up. They're going to wrap him up, but he will not be himself. Nas, we've had injuries. You can do whatever you want to make the injury better, but you're not where you were before that injury. And Cincinnati has dominated them before he was injured. So after he's injured, I think Cincinnati will dominate this game. It'll be an easy win.
Well, Cincinnati is the favorite going into it because of what you're talking about. The high ankle sprain in Mahomes. People don't know if he's going to be able to be accurate, if he's going to be able to move, or if he just looks like a shell of himself. The Kansas City team is not good enough to win despite Mahomes. Like, Mahomes kind of has to lift that team up. Because think about it. They're going to bracket Travis Kelce in the middle of the field. They're going to double him everywhere he goes, and they're going to say, okay, Juju and MVS, you guys got to beat us one-on-one. And if you do, we shake your hand, but we don't think you can do it. And
that's exactly right, Nas.
So the other game that we didn't talk about was Tom Brady. Oh, that game was horrible to watch, Steven. It was so hard to watch Brady lose that game and not really be able to. It
was a joyful watch. One of the greatest watches I've ever had. I've watched it on the DVR about 10 times. Oh, it was so fun. To finally see the downfall of the Golden Boy. Look, he's cooked. He should have retired last year. He doesn't want to get hit anymore. The team was not good. The O-line was not good. But also, he was not good. He's throwing the ball into the dirt. He's missing open receivers. He's trying to check down Charlie his way into staying into a game. The reality of it is, man, they were bad this year. The only reason they're in the playoffs is because the NFC South was so bad. But, yeah, and look, as a Brady hater, I didn't want to see him go out like this. I will admit it.
He's not out.
It's terrible.
And Nas, you said it. You said it right. He didn't have an offensive line. Tom Brady, more than any other quarterback in the league, needs an offensive line because he's 109. He needs an offensive line, but he still has his mental capability to hit people anywhere he wants to, but he needs that little bit more of time that he did not get. That's where he screwed up. Now, he can go to the Jets or go to somewhere that has a great offensive line, and maybe if they can reinforce the offensive line for him. But he can't stay there because the line would not protect him. That's what they were the last team in rushing. Tampa Bay was in rushing this year. They had the worst rushing team. You know why? That's your offensive line. That's reflection of your offensive line. Tom Brady, his entire career, cannot get hit. And now that he's 45, 46, maybe next year, he can't get hit. So what he has to do is go anywhere and have a great offensive line. And the Jets are close. He may take them to the Super Bowl.
You mean next year, because the Jets aren't playing in the playoffs right now.
No, I'm talking about next year. The Jets with Tom Brady could go to the playoffs, maybe win the Super Bowl.
Scared to get hit now. This is not the Brady we're used to seeing. Like, any slight movement around him, this dude was almost turtling up. Like, he was seriously shook in the pocket.
But he had no line. He had no line, Nas. If he has no line, then he's going to be like that. He expects to get hit, and he didn't expect to get hit before all of his linemen came out.
They're going to regret it, man. Like
He'll be here next year. He will play next year. He'll be there. It may make you throw up. It might make you throw up in your shoes, but Tom Brady will play next year.
Look, dude, we've seen this movie before. We've seen it with Troy Aikman, Steve Young, everybody. At a certain point, the game becomes too fast, and it's time for you to go. And if you stay too long, you're going to have that terrible moment. So it's time to go, man.
All right. So let's also talk. Did we talk about Jacksonville and Kansas City and that loss? I don't think we did.
No, I mean, it might be the dumbest game plan I've ever seen defensively, where they just said, okay, we don't think Travis Kelce can get open against this line. Did that all game. And Kelce just kept getting open, and that was all Kansas City needed to score enough points. The young boys showed well on offense, though. Jacksonville's an up-and-coming team, but this wasn't their time. Even with a hobbled Mahomes, Kansas City was way better. So, I mean, this was inevitable. But, making the playoffs was an accomplishment for them.
All right. So now let's finish up with the AFC. What are you looking at for Cincinnati against Kansas City on Sunday at 6:30 on CBS?
How does Mahomes look in the pregame? Can he move? If he can move, he's got a shot because he's the best quarterback in the world. But if he can't, good night. Well,
he's going to be able to move, and he's going to make himself move. But the question is Cincinnati and Joe Burrows, is that defense for Cincinnati going to sack him and keep him from moving? What's that defense for, Cincinnati going to do against Kansas City on Sunday?
Try and land on his ankle.
That's not right. I don't think that's horrible. We don't want them to do that.
I think Chad Henne can come in and win the game. I think he can win more than one-legged Mahomes. I think Chad Henne can come in. He took that ball 98 yards, threw it a bunch of times. He's a competent quarterback. Been in the league 13 years, 14 years or something. He hasn't played that much, but he knows the game. And he's physically capable.
Mahomes' place?
Chad Henne will take Mahomes' place. Mahomes might not even play. You can shoot him up. We don't know that yet. You can shoot him up. We don't know that yet. It hasn't been 100% yet. We don't know that yet.
He would not play. That's crazy.
Because the team might decide that he's too much of a liability hurt.
Yeah, Vegas thinks he's going to play because since he's only favored by 1 point. So if you got that inside knowledge, you need to go bet the hell out of that right now.
No, I'm saying okay, look, they think, wait a minute, with Nas, you think, wait a minute. You think that you said that Vegas knows he's going to play because Cincinnati's only a 1 point favorite? Dude, they're playing in Kansas City. It's Kansas City. If they thought he was going to play, Kansas City should be favored by 5 points.
If Chad Henne is playing,
no, he's at home. He's at there. Kansas City is an underdog at home. They're not sure Mahomes is going to play. That's why it keeps fluctuating the way it does. They're not sure if Mahomes is going to play. If Mahomes doesn't play, it's going to go a lot more. So you better grab Cincinnati now while the number's good for you, because it could go up to 6, could go up to 4, whatever. But of course, they don't know right now. It's only Wednesday. They played on Sunday?
Right, they played Sunday.
But Steven, you got to remember, if Pat Mahomes wasn't going to play, they wouldn't tell you that right now anyway. They tell you an hour before the game when inactives kick in, because Kansas City is not going to give an advantage to Cincinnati. But Pat at the presser today said he was playing, said he feels fine. Like, you can pull this up.
But who said that? Mahomes said he's going to play? And dude, everybody says they're going to play no matter how hurt they are. That's what happens. Everybody says, I'm going to play. They got their arm hanging like this, their arm hanging like this, and say, I'm going to play this week. And then the coaches and the staff and everybody else and the doctors say, no, you're not. So Patrick Mahomes, just because he said he's going to play doesn't mean he's going to play.
All right, so let's move on. I think he's going to play, but let's
He might
move on.
play. You might be right.
I want to look at the NFC. We were talking about the AFC. Let's look at the NFC. Dallas versus San Francisco game. What happened to Dak Prescott?
Well, honestly, their weapons aren't good enough. They got CeeDee Lamb and Tony Pollard, really, as guys who are difference makers. Tony Pollard gets hurt, that takes away a lot of what they can do. I don't think their OC is as good as advertised, Kellen Moore. A lot of people hyped him up as this great, innovative mind. I don't see that with Dallas' offense. And then the last thing, which is the most important thing, Dak is pretty much a little bit above a game manager. He has to have a lot of talent around him. He doesn't lift talent that's not good enough. So he played a bad game, made two really bad reads and throwing those interceptions. And in a tight defensive game like that, that's it. It's over. So, yeah, Dak didn't play well. I don't know if he deserves what people are saying about him right now, but ultimately, the Cowboys need a lot more weapons on offense. It's CeeDee Lamb, Pollard, and Old Man Z. That's not enough.
Steven?
Yeah, the bad thing was Pollard going out because this game was close for a very long time. I didn't think Dallas was going to give San Francisco this much of a game for as long as they did. It could have went either way. And if Pollard had stayed healthy, they could have won the game in spite of Zach. I'm not a fan of him at all. I'm not a fan of him. I don't think he's a great quarterback. And I think he's, like Nas said, he made a couple of crucial mistakes. But he had done enough to where they could have won the game. Even their backup could have won the game. This is what makes me really suspicious of San Francisco going against Philly this week because they looked garbage. They looked like garbage against a Cowboy team that shouldn't even be on the same page as them. They shouldn't be in the same book with them. So if they go to the Eagles that have so much right now, so much defense, so much offense, then I think San Francisco might be in trouble, especially because they have a quarterback who's 9 years old, and he's not used to any of this. He just wants ice cream before the game and after the game. And no rookie has ever gone to the Super Bowl. It's funky. So this is why I feel really good about the Eagles, although I want a really, really tight game. I want a really close game. I want this to be one of the most epic games ever to go along with everything that the rivalry of the Cowboys and San Francisco 49ers have always had. This is what I want. I want an awesome game. I want it to be fun and crazy, just like the other game. I think both of these games this week are going to be close and epic, I hope. I don't want to see anything boring like I did this past weekend. Some of this stuff.
Okay, so let's talk about that Philadelphia and New York Giant game.
Boring.
What happened? Why did New York think that they could really come in and beat the Eagles?
No, I mean, honestly, you should kind of celebrate the Giants season. That's not a talented team. They kind of hit the most of what they could do with their ability. It's Saquon, Daniel Jones is coming along, but their skill guys aren't good, and Philly's just way better than them, as the score indicated. So they're happy with advancing to the second round of the playoffs. That's the successful season for them. And Philly, their whole idea was, let's beat the hell out of them and get everybody out of here before anybody gets hurt. And they were able to do that. Hell, even the third string running back broke a 60-yarder on them. So easy work for Philly.
All right. So let's talk about, go ahead, Nas, about San Francisco versus Philly coming up Sunday at 3 p.m. How do you see, if you look at the screen, I know you can't, Nas, but everyone else, if you look at that screen, how do you see that game? How do you see Philadelphia's defense against San Francisco's offense? Nas.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, Shanahan's going to have some tricks in play, so Philly's going to have to stay home. They can't give up any big play because the most important part of this game is going to be if San Francisco can get up early, they got a chance to win. But if they get behind, they're done because they have to, with their rookie quarterback, they have to play everything so close to the vest. They have to be careful. And if they get behind, as you know, Stacey, being a Philly Eagles fan this year, Philly has typically run up the score, 21, 24 points in the first half. And that second half, they just milk you to death. They just try to eat as much clock as they can. And against San Francisco, if they get up 2 scores, that's it. They will shorten this game as much as they can by running that clock as they should. So the most important thing in this game is going to be whether San Francisco can get up early. We'll see.
And Stephen, I have to ask you, if you think about Philadelphia's defense. They have the most sacks than any other NFL team this season. So isn't the problem going to be whether or not San Francisco can keep Purdy upright?
No, I don't think so in this game for the matchup that they have and for the players that they have on Frisco. Because McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel, they can catch a 2-yard pass and take it 65 yards anytime they want to. And they have so many weapons on offense. That's not. I don't think that's going to be the issue. The issue is they have a really good defense. And if Jalen Hurts' shoulder is good and he can really throw the ball, and because he can really throw the ball when he feels well, I think this is where the whole game ends up. Is San Francisco can't stop the pass like that. He'll be throwing 40-yard passes, 50-yard, 60, 70-yard, and probably connecting to Brown and Smith and anybody else. I think he's going to have a good time in that aspect. And I don't think they're going to be able to go after Purdy and do much to him. I think he's going to be protected very well. And I also think that, like I said, when you have those, like McCaffrey's number one, Debo's number one.
I don't agree with that, Nas, and I don't agree with that
they're
because I think the key would be for San Francisco to make Jalen Hurts throw the ball, because if they can't make Jalen Hurts throw the ball and Jalen Hurts gets out of that pocket, he starts running. He mixes it up with some throws, and he mixes it up with the some throws to the Slim Reaper. And those people who know the player I'm talking about, they'll know who I'm talking about, the Slim Reaper, or they make some slows to the Giant Slayer. And Jalen is able to mix it up. That's going to be the problem for San Francisco's defense. San Francisco is going to have to make Jalen throw the ball. And if they don't, they're going to be in trouble. Nas, you agree or disagree?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with both of you in a sense, because like you said, their whole thing is San Fran plays a lot of man-to-man. So there's going to be opportunities for Smith, and there's going to be opportunities for Brown to make a long play, like they're writing that. But then the other side is what Stacey is saying, where Jalen is going to want to direct these long drives where they just kill the clock and they stop you from being on the field. Then their defense is fresh and they're able to come after you a little more, and they just shorten the football game. So I agree with both of you in a sense on this, but no matter what, like I said earlier, man, the 49ers have to score early. They have to get up. They can't get behind the whole game, the game plan, because at that point, then the Philly defenders can pin their ears back and go after Brock. You can't run the ball as much as you want with CMC, and Philly will just keep squeezing that life out of you. So, I mean, Brock Purdy's got to do something early, like something big. But this is a tough task for a rookie, man. NFC Championship game on the road against number one defense. Good luck.
Yeah, and he's good, and you know, 49ers defense is very good too, and Purdy is very good. But you know, we'll see. It seems like it's going to come down to the rookie quarterback against the Alabama quarterback.
Yeah, who's the best quarterback, Stacey? Who's the best quarterback? It's
Jalen Hurts. I would never bet against Jalen Hurts.
Right, it's easy. This is kind of
never
easy.
bet against Jalen Hurts.
I would be a little bit shocked if the Eagles didn't win.
You never know.
I just hope it's a close game.
All right, let's see.
Y'all better win to save us all, because if y'all let Brock Purdy get to the Super Bowl and his rookie games of football,
he's another Brady. He'll be another Brady.
He'll be another Brady. You're right.
Good morning, America.
He'll be another Brady.
Everywhere.
He'll be everywhere if Mahomes doesn't stop them.
Oh, it won't matter. Just get to the Super Bowl, 7 games in, 7th round pick, Mr. Irrelevant. Oh, dude, there'll be books out here of that guy. We'll never stop.
So if you see
generation of little kids named Brock.
That's true. There will be. Screen, it says Ron DeSantis, governor of Florida, pushes for sweeping protections against COVID mandates in Florida. He says he protected Floridians against the vaccine being used as a weapon. Will he be able to do that with his legislature in the House? Keith?
I hope so. I certainly hope so, because we've got to stop this, and we don't have anybody in California that can stop it, basically. But I know Florida is a good candidate for stopping it. DeSantis is right on. Yeah.
Okay, Nas.
No, this is typical of DeSantis. This is culture war, feed the meat to his base, and then afterwards, a couple weeks from now, they won't even think about it again. So his whole fight against African American studies, the things they've done in outlawing certain things within curriculum, all of that's going to be overturned once it goes to the courts. And this is a similar thing. Like, you're not going to be able to stop businesses from protecting themselves or government institutions from protecting themselves when you're dealing with a communicable disease. Damn, you got to get Jenny on here so I can pronounce it. But
I have a question for Nas.
All right.
He's playing to the cheap seats.
So if you look at this article, I have it up here. It says, if approved by the Florida legislature, DeSantis's measures include a ban on vaccine and mask requirements in schools for students, as well as businesses hiring or firing based on one's vaccine status.
All right.
If it starts with Florida, the question is, Stephen, will it move to other states like Texas and Pennsylvania?
You would certainly hope that it moves to other states because it's common sense, it's science, it's obvious, and everybody who doesn't have their head stuck somewhere where it shouldn't be knows that it's all a bunch of garbage. It's been a bunch of garbage for a long time. You don't mandate these experimental shots on people that are actually doing more harm than good. And a lot more doctors are being allowed to come out and speak their minds and tell the truth when they weren't allowed before because they were stopped. And a lot of people have lost their livelihood because they came out and spoke the truth. And the truth is that the mandates are wrong. The mask mandates are wrong. The COVID shot mandates are wrong. They actually hurt more people than they help, and it needs to stop. And when it all comes out, everybody owes us an apology because the last 2-3 years, we have been correct. And we will not get an apology. What will happen was everybody that's been against us will say, I kind of felt that way too the whole time. Why don't we just all get along? Why do you have to be so divisive? Why don't we just get along now? Everybody be cool. Everybody be cool.
Right, so
yeah, of course, DeSantis is right, and every governor should do this.
Go ahead, Nas.
Yeah, so let's talk about this in real terms. So if the 6th grade class of Abbott Elementary, let's use a TV show, 6th grade class of Abbott Elementary, they come in with that policy that he's talking about, and let's say 9 children of 23 in the class have long COVID symptoms that lead to life-altering problems health-wise. When that family sues the school board, the school, and also the state of Florida, how big do you think that payout would be, Ms. Stacey?
I think it would be. I think the payout initially would be humongous, but they would probably appeal it, and then they probably negotiate that payout down.
Okay, so we just use 6 students. Now extrapolate that across the whole state and think about the amount of lawsuits that would flood in if you put in a policy like this that you would now be liable for because you made the decision unilaterally that these things are not needed anymore. No state is going to take responsibility, so this is not going to go to any other states. And again, matter of fact, this is going to die in legislature in Florida. But DeSantis got his cheap seat claps from his fans. But yeah, this is not real policy. This is child play.
So what did you want to ask Nas, Keith?
Well, I was just basically trying to ask him if he thought the mask, is he aware that the mask wearing was basically didn't do any good? I mean, you had shots, vaccines, masks, the whole bit, social distancing, and yet people still got COVID. And the analogy he made was really hypothetical in the sense that if 9 kids had COVID, then they should stay home. They wouldn't even be at school. Okay, so what is the purpose of wearing a mask if you're healthy and you have no symptoms?
Okay, yeah. So let's break apart what your little propaganda salad there. First things first, masks did help. Vaccines did help as well. You can look to the countries who didn't have masks or vaccine or PPE and look at their results and realize really quickly that these things are universal for a reason, because they are effective. Now, you said those children shouldn't come to school if they had COVID. Now, as we all know, because of taking the PCR tests and everything else, it's really difficult to detect day one. Sometimes you're not even feeling any symptoms and you go about your day. Now, if you do that without any protection amongst a classroom of children who do a lot of touching, grabbing, holding, sneezing,
Talking,
and
laughing, and everything
these things
else.
are likely to spread. So that's why I gave the scenario I did. Keith, you got to stop being a fan of people and just look at what they're actually presenting.
I think
so
you're
like DeSantis, hey, that's cool. You can like DeSantis. That doesn't mean you have to sign up for his policy when it's bad.
I think you're the one that's being, deceived here, because wearing a again.
I'm sure you do.
Is not preventing COVID, and it hasn't done it, and it won't. Florida didn't do it. Florida came out very well. Okay, vaccination.
Very well compared to who? Pakistan?
Compared to California. We're still wearing masks over here right now. Not me, but people in Los Angeles are still wearing masks. What for?
Right, as they should be. As they should be, because there is the flu, there's RSV, and there is COVID.
It's not doing any good. People still got it. They're wearing a mask.
We've also had like record lows as far as flu, because people are actually masking and distancing and everything else, and it shortened.
But you just said that it's necessary. Stacy just said that it's necessary.
I was saying it's necessary to help prevent the spread of the flu.
But it's not preventing the spread, is what I'm saying. I argue.
Well, it's not making it as.
That's the thing.
It may not be preventing it totally. It may not be preventing it totally, but the numbers are definitely down than they were in previous years. You don't hear people saying, like you used to say, Keith, "Oh, people are dying from the flu." You don't hear that now.
Well, people aren't dying. They're not dying because the immunity is up.
Oh, I'm sorry, Stephen. There's some reverb coming from you. I don't know if you have two things on, but there's reverb coming from when you talk. There's reverb, so that's why I have put you on.
Stacy, for thousands of years, we never wore a mask for the flu. Did we ever wear a mask for the flu? No. Was a flu shot mandated? No. But all of a sudden, COVID shots are mandated, masks are mandated. What kind of world do you want to live in, Stacy? Wake up. You don't want to live in that kind of world. People get sick. People get sick and people die, Stacy. People who have really bad health issues die when they get the flu. But when I get the flu, I don't die. You need to stop Nas from talking. When I get the flu, I don't die. I don't have other health issues. When I get COVID, I don't die. Stacy, you are not correct. I need you to be correct.
And I need you to show me some proof, but let Nas talk.
I'll show you some proof. Nobody in thousands of years.
Go ahead,
Okay,
Nas.
Steven, calm down. The thing I was going to ask you is, I understand, like, you've decided, a certain view about this. But ultimately, let's just go to raw numbers. Biggest casualties in American history. They are the pandemic of 2020, the Spanish flu, and then World War II, and I forgot which is the last one. But those are the largest events of casualties for Americans. Why is that number so high if you guys are right?
They're thinking about it.
It's really smart. You get the flu. You get a cold. You can die. People die when they get sick. Most people don't. Why is COVID any different? Why is the flu? Why do we have to wear a mask for the flu now? That is simply ridiculous.
Well, they're not wearing it for the flu.
Yeah, you said, Stacy, wear a mask because it's flu season. Don't want to get sick.
Okay, let's move on to the shooting in California. Our thoughts and prayers to the victims of the Monterey Park shooting. The suspect was found dead. The mass shooting was on January 22nd. If you look at the screen I'm sharing here, let me see if I can make it bigger for you. what CNN.com covered was authorities say a 72-year-old man suspected of mass shooting in Monterey Park, California, was found dead with a self-inflicted gunshot wound after officers approached his vehicle. The gunman shot 10 people dead at a dance studio near a Lunar New Year festival celebration. He had been a regular presence at the Star Ballroom dance studio. People who knew him told CNN. And shortly after the attack, authorities say the gunman showed up at a second studio in nearby Alhambra, where a group of people confronted and disarmed him. Keith, you are out there in California. What is the mood out there, and why isn't there more gun control? Did they say how this man got a hold of the guns? Or the gun he used?
They never said, they didn't say that yet. They didn't talk about that. But I want to talk about the importance of learning how to defend yourself, because that man, the man who disarmed him, thank God for him. And we need more of that. We need more training and more understanding of how to disarm, people with weapons. And I think that's a very important type of training. They ought to have that in school, in the curriculum, instead of the queer teaching that they want to have African Americans. Blacks need to learn how to disarm themselves or disarm others who need to be disarmed in self-defense situations.
That's not totally true, Stephen.
What's not true?
That gentleman should not have had that gun. I don't know how the guns are getting in the hands of these mass shooters. That's
criminal.
Something that we have to do in America to stop this.
What's not true?
Stephen?
A mass shooter, no matter what your laws are, if somebody wants to be doing mass shooting or run over a bunch of people, they're going to find a car, they're going to find a gun. It doesn't matter what you do. There are no gun laws that are going to stop people who are so far from God that they don't even recognize themselves, and they're going to do some heinous act like this. These are some desperate people in a way in their life. All of these people have this in common. They're desperate people who do this and have lost everything in their life, that any existence, and that this is what they're going to do instead of being a normal person. It doesn't matter what they use. It's not the gun. It's not the car. It's not the bomb. It's the person. When we can realize that, there's nothing we can do about that. Every now and then, somebody will short circuit and do something like this. What the media wanted was this guy to be a horrible white person, or maybe a horrible black person, or somebody they can say, this is what's been happening for so long. No, he's another Asian guy who had just lost his mind. And I'm positive he didn't know God. He didn't have any love for God because he had no love for himself or anybody else. And this is why he took everybody else. This is never going to be a gun issue, no matter how much the left want it to be a gun issue. And anybody can get a gun, a car, or anything else they want to kill a bunch of people if they want to kill a bunch of people. That's what the problem is. The problem is not the machine. The problem is the brain, the heart, and the soul of the people who commit these horrible atrocities.
Stacey, I got one other point also. Stephen, are you aware that the Washington Post, I think it was the New York Post, or the Post, one of the several newspapers actually reported before they had to go, change it. They said this was a hate crime done by a white person.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. I didn't hear that, Keith, but I'm sure that's what they wanted. I haven't heard that, but I'm sure they wanted that. They need a hate crime by a white person, and that would be the big story. Now it's a Japanese person. It's not a big story now. It's just another, it's just, and the guy that was Asian that killed everybody at Virginia Tech, killed a bunch of people at Virginia Tech. It wasn't because he was Asian. It's not because it's not because we had people shooting people in DC and Virginia. They were shooting people out of their car. They were black. It's not because they were black. None of that makes any sense. It's not because, how did they get these guns? These are just really bad people that do really bad things, and nothing's going to stop them. You would buy any drug you want. You can buy a child. You can buy a gun. You can buy anything you want on the black market if you have the money. So all these laws that you put on Keith and me, who are good people, who would never hurt anybody, then all that does is it cripples us in times of trouble when these bad people are doing what they do. Like Keith said earlier, that there's people that have guns on them and they stop it. They don't make it 50 people die. They make it so 10 people can die or 2 people can die. They're heroes. Keith and I want to make sure that a mass shootings never happen. That's why we do what we do. And that's why we're not alone. And that's why who are these people who want to stop the good people? Stop the bad people, but you can't. I don't know how you stop them. You don't stop bad people by stopping the good people. It never works.
I'm going to move on. We need to do something more in the states about gun control, and your solutions, I believe, are not powerful.
What do you want to do, Stacey? What do you want to do about gun control that's going to stop somebody who's insane or doesn't love God or themselves? How are you going to stop them from killing people, Stacey, with your gun control?
So let's go on to this article. Wall Street Journal opinion says, here we go again. Documents with classification markings have been discovered at the Indiana home of Vice President Mike Pence. Material that was quickly handed over to the FBI. He didn't hold on to it for a year like Donald Trump, and which ex-statesman will be the next to do a disappointing double check of the basement file cabinets. That's what they're asking. Keith, a Republican has been found to have classified documents in his home, just like Biden, just like Trump.
No.
Why do you think that is?
Look, obviously, if they really wanted to, if they were really concerned about this and they wanted to check and investigate, they'll go all the way back to Bush, to Obama, to Clinton, what have you. They'll check with all, and I bet you they would find that papers or documents have been also taken, by those presidents as well, from Clinton, Bill Clinton to Obama to Bush. It's probably a regular thing, and that now is just being uncovered. I mean, I don't know how much of it is legal or what have you. I mean, we don't even know.
Oh, sorry.
Biden was vice president when he took his. All the rest of them are presidents. So
no, Pence was never president.
Right.
Who?
So Stephen, I know. Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I don't know.
Pence was never president. Stephen, I know you want to discuss this. Go ahead. You want to talk about Biden having those documents, but you didn't say anything about Mike Pence having those classified documents in his personal possession.
Mike Pence and Joe Biden should share a cell together. They are both equally wrong. They're guilty. They are criminal. What they did was criminal. What Donald Trump did, what Obama did, what George W. Bush did, what every president did was something that they could do because they have the ability to declassify anything only because they're president. Now, Joe Biden was a senator when he did it, when he took stuff he shouldn't have had, and a vice president, and Mike Pence too. So when Mike Pence took Donald Trump's stuff, he can't do that. That's illegal. Joe Biden took Obama's stuff. He can't do that. It's illegal. Obama has a huge building full of the stuff that he took, and nobody cares because he has the power to make everything legal, like the president has. But Joe Biden needs to go to prison, and Pence needs to go to prison. But Joe Biden also needs to go to prison because him and his son used what he took out of the White House, even make copies, used what he took out of the White House, stole from Obama to enrich themselves. This is what they've been doing. And this is what Aguna on the show is like, Hunter Biden's laptop. It ain't nothing, because they covered it up for so long. It's on the laptop that what they've been doing is the classified information to enrich themselves. They don't need just to be in prison like Pence. Pence needs to do time, but Biden, his son, and everybody else involved needs to hang together, hang publicly, because it's treasonous what they did to this country, and it's easily provable, and it will be proved. Even though we have a DOJ that's on the take, we have everybody that's on the side of the left.
So,
it
Stephen,
doesn't matter.
You're saying this without any proof.
It's all the proof is there, Stacey. 100%. Stacey, I wish I had $1 for every time you said I'm saying something without the proof, because it always turns out I'm right.
Declassify classified documents by doing this.
Joe Biden's son was spending $50,000 a month. Listen, Stacey, Joe Biden's son was giving his dad
$50,000 to do with it.
Yes, it does have to do with it, because they were getting that money from foreign contributors. Because of
you're talking stuff like Todd says over the dark web. That is not how.
Stacey, $1,000.
Sorry, not sorry.
$100,000. Bet me. Get all your friends to bet me. You're wrong. You're wrong.
No.
What they did will be proved.
So this is an article, because you have no articles to show me and to prove what you're saying.
An article is your proof. Can you show an article in court, Stacey? Can you show an article in court for your proof?
It's the truth. So
can you show an article in court for your proof, Stacey?
How does the government declassify documents? It says the federal government. This is an article by Bruce Riddell.
Should be true then.
The federal government has a fairly simple process for classifying documents. You can see that, right? I'll keep going. The originator of a document, usually a foreign policy or national security staff member, decides if it needs to be classified. In almost all cases, this is a simple decision. Has its predecessors been classified? If so, classified. Each federal agency has a central repository that employees connect with when producing a classified document, which gives a document a number.
It's not just classified. You're talking about classified. I'm talking top secret, Stacey, not just classified.
We're talking about the process.
But you're talking about classified. We're not talking about classified. We're talking about more than classified.
No, I'm going to continue to talk about, I'm showing you how it classifies, and then I'm going to pull up an article about how you declassify it, because
that doesn't matter. We're talking about the president having it doesn't matter, Stacey. The president has the power to declassify anything. No one else does. That's not true. If it's top secret, the president can make it not top secret, not the vice president. Do you understand that, Stacey? That's a fact. What
you're saying is incorrect.
What I'm saying is 100% correct. I swear to God. I swear to God, the vice president cannot. If it's top secret, if it's as high as classified, the president can take anything. The vice president can't. Stacey, you don't know your facts.
Okay, I'm going to show you right now.
I don't care what this man says.
So you're saying I don't know my. Okay, you're saying I don't know my facts, and I'm
saying you can't take this article into court and prove you're right.
Okay, I don't know what I'm talking about, and I'm
saying you didn't know what you're talking about. What you're talking about is what somebody else is saying.
An article that tells you the specifics. Okay, so it talks about. This is an article by Charlie Savage. Let's see, make sure you can see it.
Who is Charlie Savage?
He writes for the New York Times.
Mm-hmm.
And this article was written, this article was written August 14th, 2022, updated September 22nd, 2022. It says that former President Donald J. Trump's repeated claim that he had declassified all the documents that the FBI seized in the search of his Florida home last month, including those marked as top secret, has heightened interest in the scope of a president's power to declassify information. He insisted on an interview on Fox News that he declassified everything. He said there does not have to be a formal process to do so yet, because if you're the president of the United States, you can declassify just by saying it's declassified. Like I said, he can just go like this, right?
Yeah.
And do something and do his eyes, something like this. And then
you can do that.
You can do that.
You can do that.
That's crazy.
It's not.
It is.
Not.
That's not how it works.
Yes, it is.
So let me
Well-
keep going and show you. Wait a minute. Here's a closer look at what a president can and cannot do when it comes to removing protections from government secrets. Now let's look at the facts. It is the administrative process by which the federal government controls how executive branch officials handle information whose potential public exposure is deemed likely to damage national security. Officials with the authority to classify or declassify matters can deem information as falling into three categories: confidential, secret, or top secret. Access to particularly sensitive information can be restricted even further with the designation of SCI for sensitive compartmented information. If information is classified, access to it is restricted. Any documents containing that information are supposed to be marked, and only officials with proper security clearances and a need to know are permitted to see them or be told of their contents. Okay.
All right, Stacy, let me comment on something.
No,
You
not
said-
yet. Let me talk about the process for
Who is this guy?
declassifying.
This guy's one of the prophets from the Bible. So everything he says is true. Who is this guy? Is he a reporter?
Yes.
He's a reporter. Okay, he
He's a
must be
reporter
telling the
who
truth.
looked up
I'm sure he's not on the
process
left.
to
Is he on the
declassify.
left? Is he on the left or
It
the
doesn't
right?
matter. There's a process.
No, it's according to him.
Declassify.
According to him, I don't see any footnotes. I see something according to him.
Okay, there's a process to declassify. While I'm looking for this part, go ahead, Keith, and ask your question.
Well, you said in that article you read, it said only officials that are qualified. You know,
Right.
that's what. Okay, I'm asking you, do you think that the president of the United States, who has the highest office in terms of, it says he has plenary power in Article 2 of the Constitution, the executive power shall be vested in a president of the United States of America. Do you think that that is an official or the official that has the power to do what you just said?
Yeah.
You know, these are lesser, you're talking about lesser people. When I say lesser, they are less positioned
Good point.
officials. They are not the commander-in-chief. The commander-in-chief has plenary power. That means absolute power in the sense of, you know, in the context of this, of, you know, determining what is confidential and what is top secret. So I'm sorry, that person is wrong. Anyway,
Right. Thank you, Keith.
Yeah. Yeah,
Exactly
I don't care.
right.
Yeah, I don't care
All
what
right.
he said at this point. It's just not.
Right. Yeah, he's a
Okay,
joke.
so this says there are procedures for declassifying intelligence of public interest, according to the Congressional Research Service.
I'll bet you.
Classified by Congress.
Better $1.
There's automatic declassification and declassification by the president.
Yeah, by the president.
I bet you they'd find
It says
something about
President,
Obama.
this isn't a particular person. I'm sorry, I have this up here. I thought you saw it. This isn't a particular person. This is congressional. I'm going to go back up and show it to you. Congressional Research Service. This is not a particular person.
Stacey.
Okay.
Stacey, it's just another way to try to shut down Donald Trump. That's all it is.
Yeah, that's all it is. Hey, Stephen, I bet you if
I'm
they found Obama,
I'm showing you what
Let's-
the rules are for declassification board to provide advice to the president and other national security officials on the systemic, thorough, coordinated, and comprehensive identification, collection, review for declassification, and release to Congress.
Nobody's higher than the president, Stacey.
That may be true, but there is a process. The president has the authority to declassify documents in the public interest that originated in any department. It has to be signed, has to be an executive order directed, and there has to be originating records pertaining to like a specific event like they have here, September 11th, to conduct declassification reviews to disclose as much of this material as possible in the public interest. You don't want to, remember, you don't want to let any information out to the American people or the world that would harm United States national
Stacey,
security.
you understand for a very long time,
There is
they
a
had
process
the FBI,
that requires the signature and everything else by the president and others.
For a very long time, the FBI knew what Donald Trump had at Mar-a-Lago. They said they looked through everything he had. And where did it go, Keith? A year or two later, they decided to kick in the door and do a big thing. They've never done that to a president, Stacey. That's your clue right there. This is all political.
Stop right there. Then my question to you is, why were the classified documents there for a year?
Because he has the right to have.
Wait. Why didn't he turn them in right away, just like Pence and President Biden did?
Stacey, listen. They came to his house and checked everything out. They came to his house and said, okay, everything's in order. And just make sure you put a lock on these. That was like a year or two. And then for political reasons, they decided to bust down his doors. Have they busted down Joe Biden's doors? No, Stacey. That shows you it's all political.
Well, wait, why didn't they bust down his doors?
Stacey, you're a smart person.
Why didn't they bust down his doors?
Why didn't they bust down Joe Biden's doors?
I tell you why. Because he turned the information over that was found immediately. He didn't hold on to it for a year.
Neither did Trump. Trump didn't hold anything. They came and looked at everything. He didn't hold anything. He was working with them, Stacey. Stacey, you're 100% wrong. Donald Trump worked with them for a long time, and they were all cool. And then they raided him. They raided his house for political reasons.
He kept putting it off. But let's talk about
nothing off.
We're out of time. We're out of time. Let's talk about our roundtable discussion. And our roundtable discussion is about homelessness. Now, Keith, I know you know about there's homelessness in every city. But Keith, I know you know about the problems that Los Angeles and the surrounding counties are having with homelessness. And as you can see the screen that I am sharing for this USA Today article, it talks about the Biden administration's all-in blueprint to reduce homelessness and what they're going to do. I want to talk about this because I really believe homelessness should be a crime. It is a crime against humanity. No human being should be homeless.
They want to be.
This is a problem. This should not be. And America is too educated and too rich to allow us not to have a solution for homelessness in our country. We'll start with Keith and then Stephen to talk about what we can do to solve this homelessness problem. Keith.
Well, I don't, be honest with you, I really at this point don't know, because a lot of, like what Stephen made the remark, he's absolutely right. A lot of them, I wouldn't say all of them 100%, but probably the majority of them don't want to be placed in a home by the state or by the people. They don't want to be placed into a home because they would have to then follow a certain standard or of rules, which they do not want to do. Many of them are rejects of society because they chose to be. I didn't say all, so don't get that idea, but many of them I know because I talked to them. I've dealt with them. I talked to them. I know a person who is dealing with homeless. You know, he's an activist. He should be known all around the country. His name is Ted Hayes. And so I know him. And the thing is, many of them are ill, maybe sick in their minds or whatever you want to call it, drugs, mind, they have mental problems. You can call it what you want. All these problems, personal problems, cause them to say, I don't really care about my life anymore. They give up. They say, and once you give up, the human being, if a person gives up, there's not much you can do for that person. A person who gives up on life, and many of them, I think, have given up on life, and they just would rather do their drugs and be left alone to be out in the streets. So I don't know, really, honestly, what to do other than preach the gospel to them, or keep on teaching the word, keep on doing that sort of thing. And I think that's the best I can do, and pray for them. So, again, that's it for me. All I can do is pray for them and speak to them about eternal life and about Christ. That's all I can do personally.
Okay, Stephen.
Well, anytime we do any Marxist, communist progression in this country, like Obama or Biden or anybody, we're going to have a lot more homelessness, and it's going to be through the roof. And even people who aren't homeless are going to suffer a lot more, because this is what you get in other countries who try communism and Marxism. It's not good for the country. It's not good for the people. And these people who are running the government don't care about people who are homeless, or don't care about people who are living day to day, or any way they can, or paycheck to paycheck. This country right now doesn't care about them people. Who did care about these people was somebody like Donald Trump. For all of his faults, he made it better for the little guy. And that's what we don't have right now. The little guy's getting crushed. And it was the same thing with Obama. And people were talking to me. I'm in these neighborhoods all the time, and they're like, what is going on? I was like, it doesn't have to be so bad. I said this on the show then. It doesn't have to be so bad. Their policies are bad for people who are way, way down. They don't care about it. And like Keith said, of course, I didn't mean to yell, but I was like, they don't want to. A lot of people are drug addicts, alcoholics, or whatever problems they have, and mental illness. They don't want to be somewhere. They don't want to be controlled. They want to be out there. But if, like Stacy said, we also need to be compassionate, and we need to help those people who truly want to be helped. But also, having Biden policies, we're having a lot of people flood our borders. We've got millions of people coming through our borders like we've never had. We've had things in this country because of the Biden policies that we've never had. It's made everything so much worse. So it's going to get a lot worse, and the homelessness is going to get worse, and food shortages are going to get worse. And all of these people that are invading this country on our borders, like Arizona and places like that, this is where we get our crops. They're coming through our crops. They're destroying our crops. They're destroying this country.
Okay, I don't know where you're getting this from, and
Stacey,
you're not giving us any facts. Like I said, I just sum it up real quick.
You don't think we have millions of people coming through the border? We've had more of an insurgent of people. It's an invasion of our country than we've ever had. Do you believe I'm telling you a lie? Do you not know the truth?
Yes, I don't know it according to you.
Why don't you know the truth, Stacy? I'll fill you in. I'll fill you in later. It breaks my heart. This is what's wrong with this country. This is why we're losing our country, because people who should be informed are not.
Okay. Thank you, Stephen. I must say that I don't agree with a lot of things that you said, Stephen. I don't agree with anything.
Well, that's cool, because you don't know. You don't know what the truth is.
About homelessness.
I don't expect you to agree. I don't expect you to agree with me.
Everyone who is homeless is not homeless because of mental. Because
I never said that. I said help the people who are homeless that are there for other reasons. I said help the people. Be compassionate. Help the people who are homeless that need help. But there are a lot of homeless people who don't want help.
Isn't this my round table?
No.
Like I said, homelessness isn't always about alcoholism.
Never said it was.
About drug abuse. It isn't always about not wanting to keep a schedule that everybody else doesn't want to keep. No, there's a lot of different reasons for homelessness. There are people, for instance, in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, who work 40-hour weeks, who get salaries, who are homeless because the cost of rentals are so expensive. They don't get paid enough in their jobs to pay for the rental. So they're homeless, and they work every day. So homelessness, the circumstances surrounding homelessness in different states throughout the country are different, and it should not be. And I think enough is enough. We cannot can no longer, as Americans, sit back, walk by, ignore homeless people, because that could be us. We must do something about the homeless problem in the United States, and we can no longer turn a blind eye to it.
Well,
What do you want to do? What do you want to do, Stacey? What do you want to do? What do you want to do to make it better?
We are going to work out some sort of solution. It takes minds of Americans to work together to come up with a solution to end homelessness in America. And we will continue to cover this until some sort of solution is found. So that's it for tonight. I want to thank to our first responders in our communities. You make our lives livable. Thank you, thank you, thank you to the women and men of the U.S. military for all that you do in sacrificing your lives so that we are free to say whatever we choose on this show. We are forever indebted. On behalf of Aguna, the Nigerian moderate Republican who couldn't join us tonight, Keith. Oh, let me pull Keith up. The constitutional conservative, Stephen, the independent thinker, my cousin Todd, who was unable to join us, and cousin Jenny, who joined us to talk about the Australian Open. Thank you. And Nas. Don't forget Nas. Don't forget Nas. Thank you so much, Nas. I'm Stacey Johnson. Let's keep this conversation going. Please find us on Instagram. Check out our Instagram page. On YouTube at Sporlitiks. Please like and subscribe. We need you to like and subscribe. Find us on Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, and Stephanie Stallworth's the Flow Network. We'll see you next time. Let me see if I can get our music up. Good night. Oh, go Eagles. Go Eagles. Go Eagles.
Should be all right. Should be all right.
All right. Good night. Go Eagles. Go Eagles.
hey,
Good night.
Stacey, like,
Good luck, Stacey.
what happened to everybody? What happened?